this morning from Japan. Well, a day after a powerful earthquake rattled Japan with a magnitude of 7.6 on New Year's Day, the death toll now stands at 30. A tragedy marked by collapsed homes and heightened tsunami warnings. Multiple warnings being issued there of more such tsunamis likely to hit the coasts in Japan. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida acknowledged the substantial casualties and extensive damage caused by this seismic event. Approximately 1,000 rescue workers tirelessly scoured the debris, hoping to recover any individuals possibly trapped beneath the rubble. Japan's military has been pivotal in distributing vital supplies, offering aid and comfort to those displaced from their homes. Fortunately, all tsunami advisories along the Sea of Japan have been lifted, alleviating the threat of further calamity in that regard. Amid this crisis, U.S. President Joe Biden affirms the United States' readiness to extend any necessary assistance, showcasing solidarity and support during this tumultuous time for Japan. Those are visuals coming from Japan as you're seeing the devastation which has rocked the city and the country and the coastal areas. A tsunami and an earthquake, 7.6 on the Richter scale, rocking Japan. Well, moving on from Japan but staying with Asia, Nobel Prize winning economist Muhammad Yunus faced a significant development as he was convicted in a labor law case in Bangladesh. 83-year-old Yunus and his Grameen Bank won the 2006 Peace Prize for their work to lift millions out of poverty. Take a look.
A court in Bangladesh on Monday sentenced Nobel Laureate Muhammad Yunus to 6 months' imprisonment for labour law violations, according to protesters. It's a case his supporters have claimed is politically motivated. 83-year-old Yunus and his Grameen Bank won the 2006 Peace Prize for their work to lift millions out of poverty. They have been granting tiny loans of under $100 to the rural poor of Bangladesh, pioneering a global movement now known as microcredit. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, however, has accused him of, quote, sucking blood from the poor. Yunus's supporters say the government is attempting to discredit him because he once considered setting up a political party to rival Hasina's Awami League. Human rights groups have accused Hasina and her government of targeting political dissent as she seeks her 4th consecutive term in a January 7th election. Yunus and 3 employees from Grameen Telecom, a company he founded, were convicted on Monday of violating the labour laws. The courts later granted them bail pending a possible appeal.
Well, moving from Asia all the way to the US, Wall Street concluded on a downturn as it wrapped up a remarkable 2023, marking a substantial decline following a year of significant financial successes and growth in various sectors, prompting cautious reflections among investors and analysts. Take a look.
U.S. stocks closed modestly lower on the last trading day of 2023, capping a robust year-end rally as investors eyed easier monetary policy in 2024. All 3 indexes lost ground on Friday, with the Dow closing down a hair, the S&P 500 shedding 0.3%, and the Nasdaq losing 0.6%. It was a rocky year marked by a U.S. banking crisis in March, a AI stocks boom, jitters about Middle East's oil supply stemming from the Israel-Hamas war, and fears that restrictive Fed policy could send the U.S. economy into a recession. The year-end rally was marked by investor hopes that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates in the first half of 2024, after a rate hike campaign that helped bring down inflation to the central bank's 2% target. Jay Hatfield, portfolio manager at Infrastructure Capital Advisors, thinks that 2024 will be the year of interest rate cuts and sees the potential for investment in new areas of the market.
This year is going to be the year of the global rate cut. And importantly, it's not just the US. Europe is probably going to cut first. They're in a recession already. But we also don't believe the US is going into recession. And again, it's because we have a shortage of housing, so we're not going to have a housing crash. We don't have a housing crash, employment stays high. When employment's high, consumption stays high. So we're very bullish about both stocks and bonds. And in terms of sectors, we would focus on financials broadly defined. So that includes preferred stocks. It includes pure financials, particularly money center investment banks like Goldman and Morgan Stanley, that is, because they're heavily levered to investment banking. We think that's going to pick up this year. And then also REITs, particularly REITs that have been sold during the pandemic, like office REITs, retail REITs, because we think that's been overdone. So we think those stocks will outperform. But if we're right about our target, tech should do well. Really, all stocks should do well in bonds. So it should be kind of the opposite of 2022, where everything went down.
Among company movers, Uber Technologies fell 2.5% and Lyft lost 3.5% following a report that Nomura downgraded the ride-sharing platforms. Markets will be closed on Monday, January 1st for New Year's Day.
Well, of course, markets are going to open later today, India time, and of course, 2nd Jan is going to be the first trading session for US in the year 2024. But you just heard Jay Hatfield, Infrastructure Capital Advisors portfolio manager, and he's also suggesting positive economic trajectory for US in 2024. He did speak about a few sectors, but specifically forecasting the nation to sidestep a looming recession, citing multiple factors and indicators that hint at resilience and stability within the country's financial landscape. Listen in.
This year is going to be the year of the global rate cut. And importantly, it's not just the US. Europe is probably going to cut first. They're in a recession already. But we also don't believe the US is going into recession. And again, it's because we have a shortage of housing, so we're not going to have a housing crash. We don't have a housing crash, employment stays high. When employment's high, consumption stays high. So we're very bullish about both stocks and bonds. And in terms of sectors, we would focus on financials broadly defined. So that includes preferred stocks. It includes pure financials, particularly money center investment banks like Goldman and Morgan Stanley, that is, because they're heavily levered to investment banking. We think that's going to pick up this year. And then also REITs, particularly REITs that have been sold during the pandemic, like office REITs, retail REITs, because we think that's been overdone. So we think those stocks will outperform. But if we're right about our target, tech should do well. Really, all stocks should do well in bonds. So it should be kind of the opposite of 2022, where everything went down.
All right, moving on, but staying again with the US in an encouraging outlook for American motorists. 2024 appears promising with the anticipation of reduced fuel expenses on the horizon, signaling potential relief for drivers facing escalating costs as the pumps draw out more expensive fuel, which is potentially attributed to a variety of market dynamics and strategic shifts in energy trends. Take a look. Well, hopefully a cut in fuel prices there should spur up consumption in the US, which has just come out of the holiday season, which, to say it mildly, remained tepid. In fact, MasterCard's latest report sheds light on a disappointing outcome for the US holiday sales, missing the anticipated mark and falling short of expectations, hinting at possible implications for the economy and consumer sentiment, post-celebratory season. Take a look.
Holiday shopping in the United States was lower than expected this year and believed to be held back by pressure on consumers by inflation and interest rates. That's according to a report by MasterCard released Tuesday. The company says it analyzed all types of payment across both online shopping and brick-and-mortar stores. The only thing it says it didn't analyze was car sales. In all, retail sales did rise 3.1% from November 1st through to December 24th. But that was lower than the 3.7% MasterCard expected and a step down from the 7.6% jump it saw in the same period last year. Holiday shopping discounts and promotions at giants Amazon and Walmart also weren't as deep as last year when they were trying to offload excess stock from the pandemic. Some of those discounts were rolled back starting in December when shoppers were expected to buy last-minute gifts on the Saturday before Christmas.
And well, if 2023 was all about AI, 2024 seems to be all about legal tensions rising from the advent of AI. In fact, legal tensions escalate as the New York Times initiates legal proceedings against OpenAI and Microsoft, alleging copyright infringement, igniting a contentious debate around intellectual property rights and the boundaries of digital content usage. Take a look. Well, David Baldacci and John Grisham among many who are seeking some sort of IPR protection there. But staying with the big tech in US, Google's resolution of a significant $5 billion worth consumer privacy lawsuit reflects a substantial step in addressing privacy concerns, potentially setting precedents in the tech industry's approach to safeguarding user data and privacy rights. Take a look.
Google has agreed to settle a lawsuit claiming it secretly tracked the internet use of millions of people who thought they were browsing privately. A judge in Oakland, California, put a class action trial scheduled for February on hold after lawyers for Google and attorneys for consumers said they had reached a preliminary settlement. The lawsuit had sought at least $5 billion. Settlement terms were not disclosed, but the lawyers said they had agreed to a binding term sheet through mediation. They are expected to present a formal settlement for court approval in February. Neither Google nor lawyers for the plaintiff consumers immediately responded to requests for comment. The plaintiffs alleged that Google's analytics, cookies, and apps let its parent company Alphabet track their activity, even when they set Google's Chrome browser to incognito mode and other browsers to private browsing mode. They said this turned Google into a, quote, unaccountable trove of information on users' friends, hobbies, shopping habits, and potentially embarrassing things they seek out online. In August, the court rejected Google's bid to dismiss the lawsuit. The judge said it was an open question whether Google had made a legally binding promise not to collect users' data when they browsed in private mode. The court cited the company's privacy policy and other statements it made, suggesting limits on what information it might collect. The lawsuit was filed in 2020 and was said to cover millions of Google users since 2016. It sought at least $5,000 in damages per user for violations of federal wiretapping and California privacy laws.
Well, time for a very short break right here on World Business Report, but don't go anywhere. A lot more interesting and fascinating stories from the world of business, economy, policy coming your way. Up next after the break, of course, we will bring you the latest developments on the Apple Watch ban. So stay tuned to News 9.
This was intended to be a terrorist spectacular without precedent.
The plan was to bomb 2 Air India passenger aircrafts simultaneously.
There was a loud explosion and the whole plane just vanished. The police dropped the ball, the intelligence officers dropped the ball, and the politicians dropped the ball.
It was a conspiracy that destroyed my life. It destroyed 331 lives.
News is now content. Just stream it. Download the world's first news OTT, News 9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
Well, you're watching World Business Report. Moving on, Apple Watch. Well, an appeals court intervention disrupted the Apple Watch ban, signaling a significant legal development in a case that has garnered substantial attention, potentially reshaping the landscape for wearable technologies and patent disputes. Take a look.
Apple can, for now, resume sales of its flagship smartwatches after a U.S. appeals court on Wednesday paused a government-commissioned import ban on the devices. Apple had filed an emergency request asking the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit to halt an order from the U.S. International Trade Commission, which had ruled that Apple had infringed on medical technology firm Masimo's patents. Masimo filed a complaint accusing Apple of hiring away its employees, using its patented technology for reading blood oxygen levels, and incorporating that tech into the Apple Watch. Apple countersued, calling Masimo's legal actions a maneuver to clear a path for its own competing smartwatch. According to analysts, a final decision could cost either company millions of dollars and potentially force a settlement or some kind of technological workaround by Apple. Apple did not respond to an email seeking comment on the court decision, and Masimo declined to comment. Apple had already paused its sales of its Series 9 and Ultra 2 smartwatches in the United States last week, though the watches remain available from other retailers including Amazon, Best Buy, and Walmart. The ban did not affect the Apple Watch SE, a less expensive model without a pulse oximeter. Previously sold watches were also not affected by the ban.
Well, it's not just the smartwatches and the wearables where the battle is tightening. In fact, one of Apple's competitors in the wearable segment, Xiaomi, is now competing with the likes of BYD and Tesla. Well, the tech giant Xiaomi has made a notable foray into the automotive industry by unveiling its inaugural electric car, marking a strategic pivot into sustainable mobility and intensifying the competition in this rapidly evolving electric vehicle market. Take a look.
There's a new major player in the electric vehicle market. Chinese smartphone maker Xiaomi has entered the popular market and unveiled its first EV on Thursday. The sedan is called the SU7, short for Speed Ultra. The Chinese smartphone maker said it aims to become one of the world's top 5 automakers. Xiaomi chief executive Lei Jun said the car would have super electric motor technology. This would make it capable of delivering acceleration speeds faster than Tesla cars and Porsche EVs. The car is likely to go on sale in several months, but makes its debut when China's auto market splutters along with a capacity glut. It also faces a slowing demand that has brought about a price war. That hasn't stopped Xiaomi aiming big, with plans to build what it calls a dream car comparable to Porsche and Tesla. The SU7 is also expected to appeal to customers due to its shared operating system with Xiaomi's popular phones and other electronic devices. The car will come in 2 versions, one with a driving range of up to 415 miles on a single charge. Another will have a range of close to 500 miles. By comparison, Tesla's Model S has a range of up to 403 miles. Pricing has yet to be announced.
Well, Xiaomi's SU7 pretty much making its entry in the world of electric mobility. But moving on to Denmark. Well, Denmark's monarchy experiences an unexpected turn as Queen Margaret announces a surprise abdication. triggering speculation and discussions about the future direction of the royal lineage and the country's leadership. Take a look.
Europe's longest-serving monarch, the Queen of Denmark, says she will abdicate in January after 52 years on the throne. Queen Margrethe made the surprise announcement on live TV during her traditional New Year's Eve speech. She will be succeeded by her eldest son, Crown Prince Frederik. The 83-year-old monarch said the decision was influenced by her health. She underwent back surgery in February, which had given her cause, she said, to think about the future and whether the time had come to leave the responsibility to the next generation. Margrethe ascended the throne in 1972 and, following the death of Britain's Queen Elizabeth, became the longest-serving monarch in Europe. She was recently part of the creative team behind the ballet The Snow Queen at Copenhagen's Tivoli, helping to design the set for the performance.
I'm an old woman by now, but it makes me feel young.
Denmark's Prime Minister thanked the Queen for her lifelong dedication to duty.
All right, well, with that, of course, as we also bid adieu to 2023, well, revelers and spectators from around the world marveled at fireworks displays and laser shows that lit up the skies across the globe as the clocks in various geographies struck 12, marking an end of 2023 and ushering in 2024. We leave you with those breathtaking visuals from the skylines across the world. Take a look.
This was intended to be a terrorist spectacular without precedent.
The plan was to bomb 2 Air India passenger aircrafts simultaneously.
There was a loud explosion and the whole plane just vanished.
The police dropped the ball, the intelligence officers dropped the ball, and the politicians dropped the ball.
It was a conspiracy that destroyed my life. It destroyed 331 lives.
News is now content.